Hello again. One of the things which I've noticed time and again is that middle class, left wing white people tend to be far more vociferous about racism and quick to take offence than the average black person. Most of the black people I've had dealings with have been more concerned about paying the rent, organising childcare, getting the shopping done, and so on, than they are about institutional racism and microaggressions. There are those who make a career out of being victims, of course, but white left-wingers are much quicker off the mark than general about this as a rule. Of course, if you want to see white people taking offence and drawing attention to racism in Britain, then you need look no further than The Guardian. It is their bread and butter, and they're constantly going on about atoning for slavery, avoiding upsetting black people, and generally making sure that we all know how liberal and progressive they are. I seldom read the newspaper, that particular newspaper, these days. Of course, The Guardian was not always so left-wing. It used to be a strong supporter of the old Liberal Party in the 1960s when Joe Grimond ran the party. I remember myself when it was a provincial paper called the Manchester Guardian. Because it was allied to the Liberals for many years and was moreover based in Manchester, staff at The Guardian found themselves in an awful pickle a few years ago when the whole business about looking into links with the slave trade began. Of course, they were at first red hot on ferreting out the supposed links which various people and institutions had with the transatlantic slave trade and denouncing all sorts of dead people for supporting slavery. That was until people pointed out that The Guardian itself used to be a staunch supporter of slavery. This was, of course, very funny. The explanation is that when the newspaper was based in Manchester in the 19th century, the prosperity of the city depended upon the cotton mills. Where did the cotton come from for those mills? Why, the southern states of America, of course, the ones which later became the Confederacy. Obviously, the Manchester Guardian wanted the ordinary working people in the city to do well and have work. Then too, because they were traditional liberals, those running the newspaper didn't like to see a president like Abraham Lincoln interfering with the rights of individuals by doing things like emancipating slaves. When Lincoln was assassinated, the Guardian ran a sniffy article in which they said, "Of his rule we can never speak except as a series of acts abhorrent to every true notion of constitutional right and human liberty." So freeing the slaves for the people writing the editorials in The Guardian was an act abhorrent to human liberty. More research needed about that idea, I fancy. In the description to this video, I give a few links about all this for viewers to look at when they have the leisure. Needless to say, many of us experienced a good deal of pleasure in seeing The Guardian so neatly hoist by their own petard in this way. They're always banging on about the legacy of slavery and how roads must fall and all the rest of it, and here they are, in the 1860s, explicitly opposing the abolition of slavery in the United States. I am aware that Schadenfreude is not an attractive emotion, but I will not deny that I certainly gained no little enjoyment from the embarrassment which those smug devils must have felt at being called out in this way. Anyway, The Guardian decided, as the modern phrase has it, to interrogate their past. For this purpose, the white liberals working there hired a bunch of black people and paid them to put together some podcasts on the matter. The whole thing has, alas, fallen apart, though, creating even more embarrassment for The Guardian and generating accusations of racism dating not from the time of the American Civil War, but from the other week. It seems that the white staff at The Guardian didn't get on very well when they had dealings with real, live, actual black people. They were patronising, treated them contemptuously, and ignored what the people they had hired were saying. In the end, the black people simply gave up when they realised that the Guardian staff were just like everybody else. They said, and I quote, "A key issue was the lack of any serious desire from the Guardian to face and interrogate its own historic role, what that has meant for its journalism to date, and what accountability might look like in the future. This left room for microaggressions, colorism, bullying, passive-aggressive and obstructive management styles that have caused frustration and stress for members of the production team. Our concerns were dismissed as trauma and baggage rather than informed expertise and analysis, whilst they frequently admitted their own ignorance of the subject or responded defensively. Bullying and microaggression from staff at The Guardian and directed against black people. This is absolutely priceless, and you couldn't, as they say, make it up. The Guardian hire a bunch of black people to help them apologise for their institutional racism in the 19th century, and then find that these same people accuse them of being institutionally racist today.